Greetings, Eric Hammond here with the Joy of Homesteading. I'm going to teach you how to repair a flat tire on your homesteads by yourself to save you time, save you money, and help you get stuff done around the homestead. Chances are 90% of the tire shops that you take your tires to get repaired are doing it incorrectly. So you might as well just do it yourself. I was a senior master technician for Ford. I spent 2.5 years teaching automotive, teaching people how to repair tires. And, it comes to find out that most people just aren't doing it correctly. And this is a way that you can save a lot of money, save a lot of time. I'm going to go into detail showing you how to do this. But at first, I'm going to tell you and demonstrate the correct way, or just kind of go through the process, the correct way, industry standards to repair a flat tire. I'm going to tell you then how tire shops are doing it halfway. And then out in the shop, I'll show you repairing a tire. It's actually this tire that I repaired, so I already shot that portion of the video. If you want to skip straight ahead to how to do this, go ahead and fast forward till you get to see me out in the shop and you'll be right at it. But first off, so industry repair standards. We got a flat tire. How are we going to fix it? You spray the whole, you air it up, you spray the whole thing with soapy water, you find out where that leak is, and then you mark the tire. You're going to dismount that tire from the wheel and you're going to repair it from the inside. So you need to do a couple things. You need to find the material that's in the tire. So I got 2 examples here in this tire. It is 2 screws that I put in here. So you can see one screw is straight into the tread and one screw is at an angle. I don't know if you can see that really well, but the penetration of the screw matters. So this screw goes straight in. This one comes in at a steep angle. That matters significantly into how this tire is repaired. So air is going to leak out of this screw because there's a puncture in the tire. So there is not only a puncture through this inside liner, but also into the tread section of the tire. I've cut this in half so you can kind of see the makeup of this tire. So these are your beads. There's 2 big metal beads that run around the rim, and then there is what they call plies, which are fabric strips that wrap around this bead and wrap around all the way to the other side, and then there's a steel belt that runs the width of the tread. This steel belt can rust, so they put patches on the inside to make the air not leak out, but there will still be a hole in the outside of the tread that as you drive down the road, salt and everything else on the road is going to get into that puncture in the tread, and it's going to rust those steel cords or the steel belt, and eventually that can cause a belt to slip. It's not super common, but it does happen, and it's because somebody didn't come in here and they didn't seal the whole wound channel. This is how you repair a puncture that is straight in. So this is called a plug patch combo. These are good up to about 20 to 30 degrees of a puncture. So if it's straight in, these work awesome. It's sticky underneath this plastic. So basically you look at the inside of this tire and it's ribbed all over. So you'd pull this screw out. You would take what's called a low speed buffer. You would soak the rubber in a pre-buffing solution, which softens up the rubber. And then you take this low speed buffer and you grind away all of these bumps and raised indentions. You cannot get down into the cords or the plies of the tire. You're just trying to smooth it out so that this patch will stick to it. Once it's all smooth, you clean all the dust away. You take rubber cement. It's just ordinary rubber cement. You staple it down inside of the hole until it pours out the other side. You cover the entire area and then you let it dry completely. That can take, 5 minutes. You just let it air dry. It's just a thin coat. Then you take your plug patch combo, you peel it off, and you insert it through the hole. You grab the other side with a pair of pliers. There's a little steel tip on the end, and you pull it down into the tire. And then they make it's called a stitching tool, and you run it back and forth over this patch to really work it down inside of that rubber cement. And then you just clip off the other end. So then you've sealed the inside, and you've sealed the entire wound channel through the tire, so no water or debris is going to work its way into that hole, and you've got a well repaired tire. This screw here that I showed you that's coming in at an angle, you can't use this on there. If you can imagine, if I thread this through that spot that's at such a steep angle, where this meets the tire would be at an angle. It wouldn't sit flush up against the tread of or up against the inside of the tire. So that won't work. What you do in that case is you have to plug the tire first. So tire plugs it's like a piece of fabric that's really, really sticky. This is a tire plug. And they make tire plug insertion tools. I don't like them that have a handle like this. I like tire plug insertion tools that have T-handles on them. But basically, you pull your screw out. You'll ream that hole out with this. It's a big serrated tool. You run that through that hole. Your plug insertion tool, you'll feed this into the plug insertion tool. It's kind of like a needle and a thread, and then it's slit up here in the top. So you slide it in about halfway, you insert that into your tire, and then you're going to cut it off flush. So here is a plug that's been installed in the tire. That would get cut off flush. Once I've put that plug in, that plug seals the tread section. It seals the whole wound channel so that water and dirt and debris can't get inside of there and cause your belts to slip. Then over the top of it, you put a patch. So I'll cut that plug off completely flat. Then I would grind and buff it just like I talked about. And then you take just a patch and you would put your rubber cement on there. You'd take your patch, whether it's a small one or a large one, and then you would put that over the plug. So you've sealed the air, you've sealed the section of the tread, and that is then a perfectly robust repair for a penetration into your tire that's come at a pretty steep angle. Now, most of your tire shops are doing it wrong. They're doing it incorrectly. They hardly ever use these plug patch combos, and they will never take and put a plug in your tire and then put a patch over it. So you bring your tire into the shop, they take your tire off. Usually they'll mark where the valve stem is, they'll take your tire off, they'll find the penetration, and they will just seal over the inside with a patch. A lot of times these hacks, and if you find somebody doing this, you should fire them immediately. When they put the rubber cement on there, they'll light it on fire, and that ruins the rubber cement. These old guys call it hot patching. It's asinine. The rubber cement isn't made to do that. You don't know what happens to the chemical composition of that rubber cement once you've lit it on fire. That's not the right way to do it. But a lot of guys will do that, and then they stick their patch on there, and then they just go ahead and put your tire back on. Since they marked the tire to the valve stem, they think they don't have to balance it anymore. They've added weight to your tire and they've ground on it, and then they put it back on, and then they say it doesn't need balanced. And then they air it up and they send you about your way, and then they charge you 20 or 30 bucks. And so basically now you have a tire that's not balanced, and you have a tire that doesn't leak air, but it still has a wound channel in the outside of the tread. There's still water that can get down in there and rust all these steel belts that are inside of there. So they've done it incorrectly. So what do mechanics do when they get flat tires at home? Well, I'll tell you, we don't take our tires off our wheels to repair them. We generally just install plugs. So you can do it on the vehicle. It's probably easiest if you take the tire off at least the first couple times you do it. But basically, and you'll look right here, here is a plug that's been installed in this tire. It seals the whole wound channel, but 99% of the time, they don't leak air also. So that's an effective repair almost all of the time. The putting a patch on it is just a little bit of extra assurance. As long as you stay on top of, making sure that you check the air in your tires regularly, man, these hardly ever go bad. In this tire, you will see I put 2 plugs here, and one of these did go bad. And you can't repair tires this far over. Let me tell you. So the repairable area of a tire is considered from this rib over to this rib and everything in between. Anything from these ribs over is considered the non-repairable section of the tire, and that's for a specific reason. Your tires are the first part of the suspension of your car. If you ride in one of these cars, it's a low profile tire. They're so hard and bumpy, but these big sidewall tires, they generally are a lot smoother. The side of this tire is constantly flexing up and down, and as you go around turns, these are the shoulders of the tire. They're moving, they're flexing. The inside of the tread, not so much. There's not a lot of flex there. So if you put a plug or a patch on the inside edges like this, it's going to end up failing. It's not going to work. If you're in the middle of nowhere and you need air in your tire to get back to where you're going, go ahead and put a plug in it. If you need to buy a month or 2 to make your next paycheck, go ahead and put a plug in it. Keep an eye on your air levels in your tires. Check them often. I put these plugs in here. You're going to see on the video later when I'm showing you where this leak is at. There was a piece of metal that went through here sideways and put 2 holes in it. I have no idea what it ended up being. I put 2 plugs in it probably 3 months ago, and they have started leaking. Just the flexing of it, I knew it was going to happen. These have gone bad. It's not going to generally be a long-term repair there, but anywhere in the center, these plugs work great. So with that being said, I'm going to take you out in the shop. I'm going to show you how I put this plug in this tire, and I'm telling you, this is 99% of the time a permanent repair. This only works on tubeless tires. If you're not sure if you have a tubeless tire or not, almost all your passenger car and truck tires are tubeless. Really old tractors and things aren't going to be. But, even a lot of wheelbarrows and stuff are starting to go to tubeless tires. It will say right on the side of the tire whether it's tubed or tubeless. Plugging tires only works on tubeless tires. I'm going to put some links down at the bottom in the description of the video of just examples of what you'll need to put a plug in a tire. So I'll put a link to a toolkit. I'm not saying that I recommend that specific toolkit, but I'll put one there just so you can see what I'm talking about. And then also, when you're putting a plug in a tire, you got to have a way to inflate one. So a lot of people don't want to go out and buy big noisy compressors. They do make portable air compressors and they work really good. You can't put a plug in a tire that is flat, so you're going to have a way to air it up anyway. They make some portable stuff now that works off of DeWalt's and Milwaukee batteries, so that might be something to check into if you've got one of those platforms. Or these are they're made for cigarette lighters, but I cut the ends off and put alligator clips on them so you can just hook it to a battery and away you go filling up a tire. If you guys have any questions, make sure that you put them below, and I'll try and answer them. But you know, this is how most mechanics I know fix tires. We're not going to take our stuff to the shop and, you know, waste our Saturday trying to get stuff done and fixing it from the inside. Secret pro tip for you. Even mechanics are plugging tires. Awesome. Well, I'll see you outside.
Greetings. Eric Hammond here with the Joy of Homesteading. We're back outside now, and I am going to show you how we repair a tubeless tire at our homestead at home. So first thing you gotta do is, you know, you got a flat tire. You come out there and it's looking low. You can take some soapy water. So that's our first tool, just a spray bottle. We use Dawn dish soap or any kind of dish soap. Put a bunch in there, fill it up with water, and then you just start spraying the whole tire, even the valve stem, especially the valve stem. So you spray the inside of the valve stem, the outside of the valve stem, kind of wiggle that around, make sure you don't see any bubbles coming out of there, and then just continue to spray the entire tread, and then the sidewalls, and even the wheel of it. I have seen wheels themselves leak. So we spray this tire, we'll spray this guy off, use this soapy water, and we'll try to find the leak. I actually know where the leak is on this tire. I've done this before. You guys came to enjoy this with me, but now I've lost it. I know it's right along the edge. This tire is a great example of one that cannot be fixed. So look, we're just soaping that whole thing up. Oh. Okay, we soaped up our whole tire. We have bubbles showing up right here. Coming from right there in that spot. Unfortunately, that cannot be fixed. So your repairing area is between this line here and this line here. So any puncture within this distance can be repaired. Anything outside of those, they can't be repaired. The tire is very flexible. This is your first component of your suspension. It squeezes in and out as you go down the road. It's flexed so much in these areas that any repair you make to these areas will end up failing. And I actually did try and plug this twice and it didn't work. So this tire has to be replaced. I'm going to show you repairing a tire though. So we're just going to go ahead and put a screw in this and I'll show you repairing this tire. So, screw gun, screw. Oh no! My tire's got a screw in it. Whatever will I do? Let's spray it. I bet it's not even leaking. It's not actually even leaking. When I pull that out, it sure will. So, here's my tools. I have a reamer, I have a plug insertion tool, and I have a set of plugs. So when you pull this screw out, the tire's gonna start leaking. You gotta shove this reamer in there immediately. Before you put these in, you have to have air in your tire. You cannot put a plug in a tire if there's no air in it. If you don't have an air compressor at your house, they do make portable compressors for airing up tires. They work really well. So this one was like 30 bucks. They plug into your cigarette lighter. I just put alligator clips on it. They're starting to make some now for DeWalt's and Milwaukee tools. Portable tire inflator. You got to get some air in this tire. There will be too much flex in the tire to try and put a plug in it if there's no air in it. So if you have something in your tread, you gotta pull that out. The best tool I've found for that is these side cutting pliers. You can get in there and you can really lever out the offending material. If it's a screw, go ahead and try and turn it with a pair of pliers and unscrew that thing and see if you can get it out of there. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull this screw out, and then I'm gonna immediately shove this reamer in here. This reamer has all these serrations all over it. So basically you push that in there and you twist this, and you want to ream this tire very, very well. All right, my tire's now leaking. I shove my reamer down into the hole. And sometimes it takes some twisting to get that in there. So there, it's all the way in. And I will twist this a bunch of times. And I'm really trying to work this around in a circle to try to open up that hole really well. I actually want that hole pretty open. Now I take my plug insertion tool. These plugs are like a really sticky rope. Pull that off of there. It's like just a piece of like fibrous rope that's incredibly sticky. You take your plug, you smash one end of it down, and you feed it through it just like a sewing needle. There's a slit in the end of it where it's cut, and we're going to use that to pull the plug, or leave the plug in the tire and pull the tool out. I usually take a pair of pliers, I grab that plug like this, and I pull it into my tool. Maybe. It's hard to do when people are watching you. There, now it's starting to go. Get that about halfway. Now there's two schools of thought. Some people put rubber cement all over these plugs before they insert them into the tire. I don't do that. I use the same soapy water that we used to find the leak. It's leaking good now. Cover your plug with that soap. Cover the whole thing. Now this is the hard part, okay? So I pull this out and I start to shove this plug into this. You don't want to twist it when you're shoving it in. You want to go straight in. You're going to hear a lot of air coming out because I really wallered this hole out. So I'm going to pull this straight out. And then I'm going to shove my plug in. So that's where it's just started in. I'm going to keep pushing this thing. Just push straight in as hard as you can. You got to really get that thing in there. It's starting to go. Man. I usually leave these things on the car when I do this. That way I don't have to watch the tire roll around on me. It's going. And I just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Right there. There's barely anything sticking out now. Twist this a half a turn, pull it straight out like that. Now the plug's in there. That thing is now finished. You can take and trim this off. It will wear off in time just because of the tire rubbing up against the road surface. But you can just trim a little bit off, and then you leak check it again with your soapy water. But that's a completed tire repair. That thing's done. That's not going to leak anymore. That's all there is to it. If there's any questions, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. But you know, I just think that'll help a lot of you guys out. It just seems like we're always getting flat tires out here on the homestead, and running back and forth to town to try and get stuff fixed. It's hard to get stuff done. So if you can start repairing some of the stuff at home, you can get a lot more done. If you like this kind of thing, hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll put out more content. Thank you.